Hello, my delicious co-creators. Lilou here. I'm in Lausanne, in Switzerland, and I have a big gift for you, a big present, because all of these videos are presents, of course, and gifts of life. But here I'm sitting with Tal, that I really appreciate for his work and his knowledge, and it's kind of it's one of those videos that will make a big difference in your life. And please watch it until the end, and I'm sure you'll be absolutely captivated to stay until the end of this video. Thank you, Tal, for accepting to do this interview. I'm very delighted to do this in English with you this time.
Pleasure. It's a real pleasure to work with you, and I appreciate your energy.
So you have studied, you were a regular doctor, if I could say, many, many years ago, and then you went into the holistic medicine, and you've discovered so much. You channeled some information, and you have this this very balanced, I would say, or harmonious, could we say, a way of seeing all this and really kind of getting what's going on, but also bringing solution. There's an aspect of your work that I really want to talk about here, because I do those interviews on Akashic records and on past life regressions and on those therapies that I think that are wonderful and that can really bring a big peace in our life and liberate us. But there is something that always been missing for me in there, and we talked a little bit about it, and I think it's really essential conversation here. What is your view, first of all, on the past life regression and their importance, or reading the Akashic records, channeling, etc.?
You see, what I've discovered is that because we are not material bodies only, we have many lifetimes. So, because our emotional, mental, and spiritual body could not die. So, we have this past life, but the problem is that it's not interesting to go there just for knowing who we have been. What is important is that in the past, it can be in this life or in other lifetimes, we have had situations where, because we have been lacking the spiritual connection, we have had intense emotion, fear of dying, for instance. Or anger, because you die and you are not agreeing with what happened. You are a healer, and they say you are a witch, and they put you on a fire, and you are so angry, say, I'm losing my life, I've done nothing bad. Well, these moments of intense emotion create a block, like a piece of ice. And then we continue living, but a part of us is missing. So we are not whole, because we have abandoned part of us on the way. The image I give is that it's like if you have a wonderful flat, okay, but you don't feel well. Why? Because in the cellar, you have these children who are saying, come on, free me, I'm suffering. And the problem is that only you can save this part of you. No healer can do it for you. Nobody can do it. You have one day to go there. And the way to do that is very simple. First, you release your emotion through the body. Like a 3-year-old child. You shout and you allow emotion just to go out of the body. When you feel that in your body, then you will be able to teach it to the inner beings that are blocked. So as soon as you have released emotion from the body, you relax, you open your right brain, and you become a shaman, which means that you can travel with your consciousness. And first, you go to the higher realms. You meet your guides, you go into your body of light, and you feel so one with everything. Then you take your sword of light, which means that you are going to go down there where something needs to be done. And the beauty of this work is that it's not the therapist or the healer who says where to go, it's you directing the way. So your sword of light will bring you down there to one of these beings that are all blocked in anger or victim, completely apathetic. And the way to free these beings is very precise. You cannot do it just by giving love. If you say, okay, I give you love, it doesn't work. Because these beings are too trapped into an emotion that make them just suffer and suffer. So what you do, you look at the being, you look into the eyes to see what the emotion is, and then this emotion, you allow it to go through you. And you imagine it's in visualization that this emotion, you let it go through your body. You dance it. You give it to the fire, and you dance. And because you're out of time, you can dance for 3 hours, 3 days, or 3 months. But after a moment you have done that, which is this dance that you are letting the body move, after a moment, you say to the being, how do you feel? And every time the being says, I feel better. Because you have absorbed and released tons of emotions. It can be anger, it can be sadness, it can be despair, it can be fear. Then you say to the being, now you have seen it working, now dance with me. And sometimes they resist, they are, Then you visualize that this part of you is like, becoming free. Then, when it's done, you have allowed the emotion to be freed, and so, there is a freedom, there is an opening. Then you give love to this part of you and say, you can receive my love now. Because love can be given only when emotions are released. Because if you are full of anger and I say, I love you, you don't hear it. I must first get rid of that. Then love can flow. And when you have done that, you take this part of you and you bring it to the light. Like if you had an elevator or something like that, or you give a gift and send it to the light. And the beauty of this work is that instead of being sabotaged by a part of you that is suffering down there, when you have done that, this part of you is in the sky, in the light, and the talents of this part of you can be channeled.
Give us some examples of some like that pops to your mind so we can see how it could liberate even from your partner or some other things.
Yes. You see, for instance, my wife, when I met her, she had a tremendous fear of sharks. She didn't like to write. Every writing was not liking. And it was a fear that has no reason. Because in her youth, she was not with sharks. Nobody has been killed by sharks. So one day, when she made this voyage inside, she discovered that she had been on a boat, and she was writing everything because she was a writer. And there is a mutinery. And the mutants say, if we keep the writer, he's going to write everything, so it will be known. So they decide to take this writer, put it in the sea with his books, and the shark have been eating him. So this writer was trapped into violent anger because he had done nothing wrong. It was totally unjust. So she saw this writer full of anger, and she said, and she showed him how to do that. Then, when the anger was gone, she took him, brought him into the light. 3 days later, she started to write her first book, which means that her talents of writer was again open. So many people, they have that in the dark part of themselves. They have memories of having been healer and being killed or put in a fire. So they are interested in healing, but not too much. Because in their mind, if I go into this direction, I will again have this problem. Or you can have been a star, for instance, you dance and you are beautiful, but you don't like the men, for instance, you think they are too heavy for you, and you feel. And these men that you are condemning, one day they kill you and rape you. And you say, it's because I'm a beautiful woman and because I'm a star. So you decide that this part of you is not good and you block it. So then when you see this anger or this fear, you release it, and then you can again dance and sing. You open the door that what has been blocked in the past, you are the only who can change it. That's very interesting, because nobody can do it for you. If a healer goes there, the part of you will say, no, I don't want a healer, I want you, because you have condemned me. Because the key is that when we have been judging a part of ourselves, we say, this is bad, this part of us become trapped in the unconscious mind. And one day, I call that spiritual psychotherapy, we have to go there down with in a guidance of the sword of light and let the emotion be released, and then we can bring to the light this part of us. And it's an important thing, because too many people just do things with the mind. That's the people who say, I've forgiven all my enemies, but I have the list. I like this story. Because intellectually, they are open to love and to light, intellectually. But down there are this part of us that are saying, if you don't come to help me, I'm going to make you heal. I'm going to sabotage your life. I will make your life a nightmare because I want you to come and release me. And we must become our own healers. That's the key of the process.
Yeah. And it's important for spiritual people too to be whole in all aspects, not just maybe feel spiritual and be in a beautiful garden and outside. And I'm thinking of, my God, Hawaii and Kauai and all those beautiful places, and be a wonderful healer. But there's other aspects that are not really abundant and opening up. And what does that tell you, or where's the work really needed there? What can we do?
Because many people have done beautiful things in some areas, but I think that the more we want to go to the light, the more we must go down into the dark side and accept the part of us that were not at all mature and wonderful. We have killers inside, or people who are really angry or sad or feeling victim or despair, and we must take care of them. Yeah. It's very important. And when we learn to do that for the part of us, then we can help others to do it, because it's not difficult. We simply help people to relax, let the emotion go. Then the process is pretty simple. And if parents do that for their children, because between 5 and 12, children are very open to inner journeying. And so if you say I remember from the child, he had a fantastic thing. He was hiding food everywhere. Chocolate or biscuits everywhere. And the mother was getting crazy because this was not healthy. And the psychologist said, what can we do for that? So I said to the child, let's go to the past with your sword of light. And he discovered that in the previous life, he was very angry. And he died from hunger. So the fear was still here. So when he saw the child dying from hunger, he released the emotion, bringing to the light, and the problem was solved. So for me, the past, what is important is that the past is very often not past. We keep it with us. It's like if we had a bag with all these memories of the past, and that's heavy. So we must do something to release it. And this cannot be done through fasting or sprouts or whatever, or any spiritual healers. It can make you feel good, but you have to do this work for yourself one day.
And the similar technique, or I guess the technique comes from there, is that we can also use it every day. For example, when we're around negative people, or if we feel, because a lot of us, I feel, especially when we're connected, we're quite sensitive, and we feel we can be empathic.
That's very important, because when we feel that someone is angry or that fear, if we block it, we are outside, and we are not empathy, we're not loving. But love is not, I take your pain and I keep it. Love is, I feel your pain, I can take it and release it for you.
Release.
That's the key. When you start doing that, you feel good every day, and you are no more suffering from the emotion of people. And if it's 1 or 10 or 100, it's the same work. You take it and you release it immediately. That's what many artists do. And when they are they shout on the, they are releasing the emotion of the people. And that's why people feel good when they go out. Because someone has absorbed and released. So there are 2 ways to release. One way is through dancing, moving the body like 3-year-old child. And the other way is simply because you feel, when you have done that well, you feel that this light coming from your soul is like cascade of love and light. And when you feel it, you don't need to keep anything. You feel unhappy, you feel it, or you feel angry, you feel it and you release it. So when you can release it or through the light or through gestures, you are no more with taking things on your back and carrying luggage or something heavy. Yeah. You are in the instant.
Yeah. It's really important to see in all this, I feel, that we have a role to play. I mean, yes. That is really, really there, and we have to do the work, and there is those darker sides of us, and there is this thing to really take on and really act, really take full power, because a lot of time we say ascending, but it feels like we need to descend a little bit too.
It's true, because to ascend, we have to descend into the dark moment of our lifetimes and bring it to the light. Yeah. And the more we do that, the more we become our healers, and we can do it for the people who don't know how to do it. Instead of saying they are bad, they are full of anger, they are violent, we can say, no, I can take it, release it, and when I do that, then I can send love. But you cannot send love to someone who is full of anger. You are first to take this anger out.
So what do you think of the Ho'oponopono or the whole forgiving?
It's excellent, but before doing Ho'oponopono, you have to release emotions. And in the Hawaiian culture, it goes with it. People don't know that, but before you do Ho'oponopono with your mind, you have to do it with your body. I take the pain of others, I release it through my dancing, or through the haka, like the New Zealand, I let it go out of me. Then I can go with the words, I accept, But if you do it only intellectually and with your heart full of hate, it doesn't work. Yeah. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, beautiful. Those are very important distinctions here. Is there other ones that come to your mind or that you would like to say that you think are kind of a little bit off or that would be good to add a little twist to it?
Is that happy people must be feeling the flow of light because they are beings of light, and they must have this capacity that when it's blocked, they can go out of the view of people and they can become like 3-year-old child, or like wild animals, just to release it. Many shamans do that. When they dance, it's really impressive. They can shout like tigers. And with that, because they do that, then they can open the right brain and work with spirits. So for me, it's a door to shamanism and to spirituality, because spirituality is blocked when we are just thinking in the mind with all this emotion. Yes, I have a lot of fear, but it's normal because I had a difficult life and my father, blah, blah, blah. And you keep it. Yeah. But if you release it, suddenly you are what you are really, a being of light that has a physical body. But you are no more keeping within your physical body the emotion of the past.
Last but not least, the laugh. You're very much...
Yes. Very important. Yeah. Because many people say, when I will be happy, I will laugh. So their whole lives are not happy and they don't laugh. The key is laugh for no reason. You just feel a little tense, you breathe in and you release, and you start laughing. And this laughter, even if it's a bit artificial in the beginning, after a few minutes, it makes you feel so good. Because when you laugh, you create in your brain endorphins on marijuana. So you don't need to buy drugs or remedies. You make it yourself. Yeah. Just through laughing, laughter is a fantastic therapy.
I have a last question, because you mentioned the word drugs, and a lot of times ayahuasca or other types of drugs are mentioned in the interviews with David Icke, with Graham Hancock, with some wonderful people that had these experiences. Or I'm thinking also of Ram Dass, that had those. What do you what is your perception on it as a doctor and as a...
I have been into that. I have a book on shamanism where I have been in this, where I tried all this peyote, all this thing. I did it for a while. But then I discovered that it's better just with the dancing and the drumming to understand that you can make it yourself. It's easier because these substances, it's not so easy to handle. If you are in the jungle and you fast for 3 weeks, then you take ayahuasca, okay. But it's a bit complicated. So my belief system is that you can create your ayahuasca, you can make it yourself. And that's fantastic because you become independent and you don't have the problem that when you take a substance, you are in the energy for hours. So if you go into the sky and have beautiful experience, that's fine. But if you go into the lower astral plane, I've been into that, you suffer a lot. Yeah. But when you do it just with your own consciousness, you can stop the journey when you want. So it's more independent, not to use substances from outside, but to create it with our own brain.
So it's really, we have everything inside of us, and being connected.
Yes. And when we are connected, the light that goes through us is capable of creating any substance. Our brain can create anything that exists because we are great creators. So why buy something? It can be a chemical remedy or a plant. Why not make it ourselves? It's easier. Yeah. That's the way.
Wonderful. But you're not rejecting either the traditional medicine. They have theirs.
No, everything has its value, but we have to learn a good, So many of these things, if you do it you are in the culture, it's a wonderful experience. But if it's not your culture, it may be hard to swallow, so to speak. Exactly like natural people, if they take some chemical remedy, they don't stand it. Yeah. I've seen that with the Unza. They were living in a beautiful state in the mountains. And one day, the Indians say, you have to come to the army. But when they have been giving immunization to the Unza, they all died. So they had to stop it. Because they were not accustomed to this kind of chemical substances. So the idea is that we have to use everything in a balanced way. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Tal, for this delicious conversation. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you to all of you for watching this video and sharing it wildly, because there's definitely a lot of elements here I think that have resonated with you, and this is how this new world works, you know, where things are spread and it transforms lives. Thank you for these important distinction, Tal. I really appreciate it. In the name of everybody watching, we loved it. Much love to all of you watching. Big kisses. Bye. But there is something that always been missing for me in there, and we talked a little bit about it, and I think it's really essential conversation here. What is your view, first of all, on the past life regression and their importance, or reading the Akashic records, channeling, etc.?
You see, what I've discovered is that because we are not material bodies only, we have many lifetimes. So, because our emotional, mental, and spiritual body could not die. So we have this past.
Take medicine, and you've discovered so much. You channeled some information, and you have this this very balanced, I would say, or harmonious, could we say, a way of seeing all this and really kind of getting what's going on, but also bringing solution. There's an aspect of your work that I really want to talk about here, because I do those interviews on Akashic records and on past life regressions and on those therapies that I think that are wonderful and that can really bring a big peace in our life and liberate us. But hello, my delicious co-creators. Lilou here. I'm in Lausanne, in Switzerland, and I have a big gift for you, a big present, because all of these videos are presents, of course, and gifts of life. But here I'm sitting with Tal.
It's life, but the problem is that it's not interesting to go there just for knowing who we have been. What is important is that in the past, it can be in this life or in other lifetimes, we have had situation where, because we have been lacking the spiritual connection, we have had intense emotion. Fear of dying, for instance, or anger because you die and you are not agreeing with what happened. You are a healer and they say you are a witch and they put you on a fire and you are so angry.
That I really appreciate for his work and his knowledge, and it's kind of it's one of those videos that will make a big difference in your life, and please watch it until the end, and I'm sure you'll be absolutely captivated to stay until the end of this video. Thank you, Tal, for accepting to do this interview. I'm very delighted to do this in English with you this time.
Pleasure. It's a real pleasure to work with you, and I appreciate your energy.
So you have studied, you were a regular doctor, if I could say, many years ago, and then you went into the holistic